Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. Today we're in our F-14B Tomcat and we're doing a cockpit tour of the pilot's cockpit this time. So needless to say, this is a high fidelity model, so 95% plus of the various controls in here are interactive either actively or passively. We'll start from the left, we'll wrap our way around to the main dash and then over to the right. So let's get going. On the left here I'm going to snap our... So the first interactive thing that I'm aware of is, well actually it's up here. We've got a arm for the ejection seat, oxygen, the airflow venter, the airflow amount here cannot be adjusted, but we do have a master switch for on and off for the pilot's oxygen. Next we have our TACAN main control panel. The pilot and the Rio get this. We'll quickly go through the master control mode. We can have it off, receive only for azimuth only, transmit receive for azimuth and ranging, air to air for air to air, and beacon is not implemented, I believe. We can control the main frequency, the main channel with this guy here and this guy here, and we can have 22 there, and we can have 22 X-ray or Yankee. TACAN code always has a X or Y after it. Normal or inverted mode, this is not implemented. We have a built-in test button here and a go and no-go light here, and a volume here. And that volume is for the Morse code identifiers, so the audio Morse code identifiers. Next is the AN ARC 159 primary radio for the pilot. Master mode, we can have it off, we can use just the main channel, we can use the main channel and guard, we can use ADF, and that is currently not implemented on this radio in DCS. And with main and both, we can use a preset frequency, a manual frequency, or guard. We have a channel select here, left and right, for the different presets. Presets can be created in the cockpit on the ARC 159 or in the mission editor. Audio volume here, squelch or no squelch. We've got controls here to change the manual frequency, so we went to manual frequency. We could change that. Load here currently isn't working. This allows us to load a frequency into a preset, but I believe it will be working soon. Next we have a throttle control for each engine, and there are controls on this HOTAS here, but we can't use them by clicking on them. They are only set via the adjust controls menu. Next we have the hydraulic override wing sweep lever. We open up the cover like this to access it, right click to bring it up for more leverage, and then we can force it into play. So this is not the main system is servo electrical system for the wing sweep, but there is a hydraulic backup which we can use this lever, and this lever is also how we will get the wings into 75-degree oversweep for carrier parking. Put that back. We have a flaps lever here, it up in the fully up position and down gradually to the down position. If we go just 5% or more, then the main inner flaps will go down to a full deflection. I think it's 37 degrees, I think. And if we, but the outermost flaps, a section of the flaps, will follow the percentage all the way down to 100%. Okay, that's that. Next we're going to jump back here. We've got here a knob for the RWR volume. Obviously it makes sound and we can change the volume. The Sidewinder tone volume. And the ARC 182, so that is the Rio's radio sound level. TACAN commander here, we press it if we want the Rio to have control of the TACAN or the pilot to have control of the TACAN. Next, a intercommunications intercom, a control panel here. We've got here the overall ICS volume. This is for us to talk to the Rio and for us to talk to the ground crew. Do you want it in the normal amplifier or the backup amplifier if the normal amplifier goes, or if both of them go, emergency amplifier, which means we're actually using the Rio's amplifier. Bearing in mind in this mode we will not be able to hear pilot specific audio. Do we want to use a cold mic for the intercom, which this means we have to press our push to talk, intercom push to talk to be able to talk on intercom. A hot mic where we can talk at any time without a push to talk. And radio override, which means the ICS will override any transmissions from the ARC 159 or ARC 182 external radios. Next, our AFCS panel, our automatic flight control system. We have stability augmentation SAS on the pitch, the roll, and the yaw. As well as that, let's see if we can zoom in a bit here. Autopilot modes, do we want it off or engage? With this mode here, we can select off or heading hold or ground track. Here we can select, and this is not mutually exclusive with this one here, we can have off or altitude hold, barometric altitude hold. This one here, we can have it off or ACL, automatic carrier landing system, which we've shown in another video, or to the VEC PCD. The VEC PCD is where a AWACS and or aircraft carrier can take full control of our aircraft remotely for any activities other than automatic carrier landing. Okay, let's move on. We're going to have to do... Oops. Engine mode select. Each engine mode has a primary or secondary. An example of using this would be if an engine had stalled, we could try restarting it in primary mode. If that doesn't work, we reset the procedure and then try secondary and try and start that engine in secondary mode. Obviously, our default is always primary. Next, asymmetric thrust limiter. I believe this is for the reheat only. It's to stop afterburners being on one engine only, which is one of the major problems with the Tomcat. Because of their wide engines, it would skew the aircraft around and put it into a spin. So we can have that. I can probably move the stick back. In fact, I'll leave it now. We can have that turned on and off. Air start. It's a bit of a fire. Well, yeah, that is what it is. It's the ignition, the airborne ignition system for the engines for engine restarts. Obviously, it's turned off normally, and it can go to on if we need to restart the engines in air. Our rudder trim here, left and right. Let's move that back. Okay, we've got here the throttle mode. Do we want it manual, boosted, or auto? Auto is APC, automatic power compensation. We can't put it on at the moment because we're obviously on the ground and our throttle is in idle. Boost is our default. Manual, I haven't actually tried, but I'm guessing it's a lot stiffer throttle. But boost is manual as well, but boosted. This one, I've never throttle temperature. Do we want it hot, normal, or cold? It's to do with the computer system controlling the throttle, and I haven't seen any difference, and the manual doesn't explain what it does, so we're going to have to bypass that one. We've got our engine crank. Do we want to crank the left? I can't do it at the moment, but do I want to left click and crank the left engine, right click and crank the right engine when the engine is cranked? It will flip back to the central position. I'm not sure whether cranking is pneumatic or electric. I'll be interested to know if you guys know that. Inland ramps. We have supersonic pre-engine conditioner air intake ramps here. Do we want them in the stowed position, or do we want them in the automatic position? Obviously, that's your default position because they need to be able to change based on the aircraft control system. Or do we want to stow them? All super fast Mach 2 fighters have this ability, and I'm guessing that it is in case they malfunction, you can override and stow them. But you've got to be careful not to go supersonic or above Mach 1.6 or whatever it is. Okay? Probably something you'll never have to actually use unless of an emergency. Let's unhook the camera. No, it's not, because there's a little guy down here. You can't actually press this, but the target designator control, really awkward place, is sitting in there. And you can't actually click on it though. Right, let's unhook the camera. Let's rehook here. Right, cheeky little panel. I find this panel really hard to use. A lot of overlapping surfaces, and there's a lot of complex stuff going on here. So, master reset. This is to do with control of the wings. Once you've moved the wings with the manual hydraulic system and you want to go back to the auto or back to the servo electrical system, you have to press a master reset. Combined spoiler braking and anti-lock wheel braking system. Do we want the spoilers armed only? Do we want both of them off? Or do we want both of them on? And this is for when it comes to landing. The fuel probe for refueling. Do we want it off? Do we want it extended but to accept fuel into the center 2 tanks only? Or extended but to accept fuel into all tanks? Regards I call it the IFE, that's not the correct name, but the fuel display gauge that we'll come to in a bit. Do we want to see, God, this is going to be hard to see, let me try and whip round there a little bit. How much fuel is in the wings, how much fuel is in the feed, and how much fuel is in the external tanks exclusively. So, yeah, well, that's that. Let me lock it in place again. Okay. Regards external wing tanks and external tanks, do we want to not accept fuel to them, have it automatically regulated, or override it so we do accept fuel from the wings and external tanks? Fuel feed. Do we want to bias normal, which is unbiased? Do we want to bias fuel feed from the rear tank due to stability issues? Or do we want to bias fuel feed for the engines from the forward tank? Again, that is going to be normal in basic operations. The only time you would change that is if you had a fuel imbalance, which we'll look at later. Control surface indicator here, where you can see the two rudders. You can see the two stabilizers, and you can see the 4 different spoiler sections. Gear handle, up or down. This one's a bit of a sod. Hydraulic isolation switch. Do you want to isolate the hydraulic system for the landing gear and the landing and the wheel brakes and the nose wheel steering from the rest of the flight system? Or do you want to allow it to interact to be part of the main hydraulic system? And that is automatically set to the down position when we're on the ground. So you can see I can't click on it and move it. And when we're in flight, we can switch to flight to do the isolation, so that the flight controls be isolated from the landing gear, basically. We've got a light here to say when the hydraulics is working, when the gear is in transit. A light here to say when the fuel probe is out, I think that is, or in transit, out, I think. This is the indicator for weight on wheels. Always in the down position when down, and can be overridden when in flight. I'm not actually sure if that's clickable. I've never tried it. Our ejection command from the pilot. Do we want to eject ourselves or ourselves and the Rio? And I can't seem to click that. I don't know if anyone else has that same problem, but mine doesn't work at the moment. Our parking brake, whether we want our parking brake engaged or disengaged. I think it's that way around. Sorry, I forgot about this guy here. Our launch bar abort switch, whether we want to abort the launch bar on the carrier, and I believe it does not work in DCS. Nose strut, whether we want it off, so it's in standard nose front landing gear position, or whether we want to extend the nose here, which rises our front of our nose and locks the launch bar, or we will kneel, where we can kneel the front landing gear down by draining the hydraulic fluid and unlock the launch bar. Emergency stores jettison, known as the Admiral's doorbell. Clicking this will jettison all weapons apart from sidewinders. Our another control surface indicator indicating our flap position, indicating our slap position, indicating our gears in and out, 1, 2 and 3, and our speed brake in or out. Whole bunch of flight instruments here. We have a radio or a radar altitude meter here. We can adjust the warning there by mouse scroll wheel, and we can turn it off if we want to. Our VSI, vertical speed indicator, in thousands of feet per minute. If it's there, it's a 1,000 feet per minute climb, and vice versa, a dive there. We have our speedo / Mach meter. This tells us in knots our indicated airspeed and our Mach. Our servo pneumatic altimeter. Why is it different from a barometric altimeter? I don't know, but I know it displays corrected altitude rather than pure barometric altitude. I think corrected, that's what it says in the manual. We think corrected just means that we can change the QFE here. If you know any better than that, please let us know. But we think it's just a basic barometric altimeter. We've got reset, which we push and hold for 10 seconds, and we can put it into standby mode like that. If anyone knows what standby mode means with the red flag there, please let me know. It seems to function the same, standby and non-standby. Unlock, where should we go now? We'll go down to here. First of all, we've got the left engine fuel cutoff there. Down here, try and lock that in position there. Okay, so we've got left and right nozzle positions. 0 is as closed as it goes for mil power. 5 is maximum open for idle and for afterburner. So a good way of checking if you're in mil power is if it points to 0 or near 0. Oil pressure in PSI up to 100 for left engine and right engine. This here is the combined hydraulics. This here is the flight hydraulics. Kind of alluding what I was saying to before, where we could isolate just the flight surfaces here. Well, that's the combined, the flight and the landing gear and landing gear brakes and whatnot. Whether the spoiler system is currently pressurized. This, whether we have to switch to emergency flight hydraulics, whether we have high or low, and we'll look at that in a bit. RPMs times 10% for left engine and right engine. I don't know why it can go over 100%. Have our temperature for the left engine and the right engine times 100 degrees C. We have fuel flow here to time left engine and right engine times 1000 pph. Oh, I've forgotten what pph is. Something's per hour, but I've forgotten what. Right, let's unlock. Rudder pedals, stick, but none of the buttons are pressable on the stick. They have to be bound separately in the adjust controls. We can get rid of the stick with the backspace button. Pew, pew. Okay. ACM panel, here we go. Let's lock that in position. Here's our current angle of attack in units, not degrees. I said before it was degrees, it's actually units, which I believe is proportional to degrees, but I don't know the proportionality. The ACM cover, if you're in an emergency ACM situation, flick that and it will do several things, including air-to-air missile modes, etc. So we can lift the cover that activates the mode, and we can then press the ACM jettison. That jettisons everything apart from our sidewinders, I believe. Our weapon station indicators. Here are our weapon stations, and the checkered flag means that that weapon is loaded and ready. We have combined slip and turn indicator here. This is the slip indicator, this is the turn indicator. I have a master caution light on at the moment, and I can't see what a master caution is on for. Let's have a quick look. Whatever that says. Left generator. What have I done? And master caution is gone. I could also cancel the master caution by clicking on it. So lock that in position again. Indicator light, seam lock. If we are in a 4.5 second or we have an active seam lock with the Sidewinder, it will show green. Collision, I think this is if the Rio has set a collision course via his TID. We have the collision indicator there, showing that collision steer indicating information is showing here. And hot trigger, if we have a trigger, we are in a condition where we have a trigger ready to pull for a weapon, hot trigger. Our Vulcan cannon, do we want it 6,000 rounds per minute, 4,000 rounds per minute? Sidewinder cooling, remember this has a finite time we can use before we run out of cooling. Do we want it on so the Sidewinders are ready to fire, or off so there's no cooling? Missile preparation, this prepares missiles by tuning them in and starting up the electronics and gyros inside the radar guided missiles. Master caution we've seen. More pylon indicators. Mode, so this is whether you want to use your missiles in normal mode or bore sight mode. Bore sight mode, an example would be firing the AIM-7 in bore sight mode, where you can fire it without lock, and a similar thing with the AIM-54. Master arm, lift the cover. Do we want master arm on, off, or in training mode? Swing position, the actual wing position is shown by this guy here, this toolbar here. The commanded position is going to show by this guy here, and the allowable forward position shown by this guy here. So if I put it to, for instance, manual bomb mode, the commanded position is there, and the actual position is now there, and the maximum forward position actually should be down there, but I don't think it's going to work on the ground, I imagine. Right engine, fuel cutoff. HUD explains all of the HUD stuff, got a full video about that, so we're not going to go into that. Let's just check if we've missed anything. Now there is apparently a magnetic compass. I can't find it with my tracker. Oh, there it is. You'd have to kind of lean over and look over there. I can't really see it, but it is over there. Indicator lights up on the side of the HUD. We've got the AOA indexer here. Here, which shows our alpha deviation. Another one there, and there, and I can't remember what they are, probably for refueling and things like that. I can't actually remember what they show, but there are indicators left and right here. Mirror, M on, M off. That's everything around there. Our VDI and associated controls. Here is our VDI. As you know, can either be in several modes, either a copy of the HUD or a TV feed, and it's not actually a copy of the HUD. It's actually slightly different. It's similar to the HUD, shall we say. Indicator lights for various things, including our various AFC commands, so automatic pilot commands demands a lot of this, and ACLS. Let's just move that down a bit. Our HUD brightness for the HUD, our VDI brightness for the VDI, our VDI contrast for the VDI for when we're in TV mode, our VDI trim for the horizon bar, our HUD trim for the same thing, our night filter for the HUD, it would have gone red now, and you can actually make this go to red for night mode, and I can't remember how you do it, so sorry. Some warning lights, wing oversweep, reduced speed, and some other ones in there. Fire right engine, fire left engine. Let's move over right. Okay, manual canopy jettison here. Heads up display for the ARC 159 radio, ARC 182 radio. Change the brightness. Test the digits. This is the radio in the Rio, by the way. Backup ADI artificial horizon. We can adjust it and we can cage it. Can we? Having problems with it for some reason. There we go. There's the adjuster. And for some reason I can't cage it, but I believe it was caged. It is cageable. I'm just obviously not managing to do it properly, but okay. Our BDHI bearing distance heading indicator. This needle here is a radio compass needle and driven by the direction finding system for the ARC 182. This turning one is a TACAN direction needle based on the TACAN system. We also have a ranging here for TACAN transmit and receive, and a compass rose around the outside. Here is our RWR display. Got a full video on this, and here we can change the brightness. Okay, that's what I can see there. This is our fuel indicator, our intelligent fuel indicator. Here is our current set bingo, which we can change. Here's our total fuel, including wing tanks and external tanks. We can isolate this figure to show different things with the button on the left that we show. Here is our left wing tank and right wing tank. Here is our aft tank and left feed. Here is our forward tank and right feed. There is a forward and a rear fuselage tank. Well, it's actually a bit more complicated than that, but that's what we can, drum it down to. Accelerometer. Up to 10G positive, 5G negative, and we have recording needles and ability to uncage the recording needles, or recage them, sorry. Chronometer with the ability to wind the clock, and do we have a stopwatch? We do not have a stopwatch. Hook up and down button, I can't press it, there we go. The arrestor hook, the current rounds in the M61 gun, and the ability to change that. Not the bullets, but the amount shown. Our displays panel. Do we want our displays, including VDI and our HUD, to be in the mode for takeoff, cruise, air-to-air, air-to-ground, landing? Do we want our HUD to be decluttered, which gets rid of some of the symbology, or not? Do we want our HUD regarding steering information to show ICLS or ACLS, which are completely different systems? Our VDI to show TV, which is our lantern or our TCS or normal. And our all-weather landing, we can have ACLS or ICLS to drive that steering information. Our HSD, which is this guy down here, do we want it to show navigation like it is at the moment, a TID repeater from the rear seat, or ECM, which is currently not implemented? ECM is not implemented from here, so that you can ignore that. Do you want power to the VDI, power to the HUD, and power to the HSD? Steering commands. What do we want to drive our steering commands? What do we want to drive our steering information? Our TACAN, our INS destination set by the rear, our all-weather landing system, which is going to be our ACLS, or it could be our AWACS remote connection, which is not available yet, or probably won't be available. Our vector, which there's some disparity at the moment exactly what that does, so I'm not going to dive into that one. And manual, where we can set manual course and heading. Our pitch ladder brightness on the HUD. Okay, I don't think I missed anything there. Right, spoilers. If you have spoilers, failure on spoilers left or right, we have how to explain this? So we've got the spoilers are split into inbound and outbound sections on each wing, and we can override one or both of those sections. So they're in normal, a standard, and we can go to override control of that section to keep the other section in functioning. Hopefully I've explained that right, and you can do the outboard as well there. Our main indication panel here, all sorts of indicators. Our master generators, our left engine, our right engine generators to normal, off or reset, and test. Our emergency generator, which we can have normal, off, or emergency, and I'm not going to play with that. In fact, why don't we? So we can have normal. I'm not playing with that, but it's left in the normal mode standard, but we can off or reset that apparently. Right, air conditioning. Do we want the air source for air conditioning to be from our ramjet, from external air, or left engine, or right engine, or both engines, or off? Oh, it works. Listen to that. Haven't found that. How interesting. Obviously, ram air doesn't work because we're not moving. Do we want to increase the amount of ram air coming in or decrease the amount of ram air coming in? Cabin pressure. Are we happy with our current automatic cabin pressure, or do we want to vent cabin pressure? Temperature control. Do we want it auto? I can't see which is which because I can't see that seat. One is a manual, one is auto. If we go to manual, we can change the temperature with this dude here. Okay, next we've got our windshield. Do we want... oh, there's 3. The manual says there's only 2 here. Well, the off is off. Air means that it's externally heated, and I don't know how this works, but apparently externally heated with hot air to clear the windshield. You know what I mean, the canopy. Or, I've never seen this, and it's not in the manual. Rain repel. Don't know. You let me know. No idea. Engine probe anti-ice. So we can have it off, automatically selected depending on the current temperature, or override to on. Engines probe. Is that the refueling probe or the pedo tubes? I don't know. Let me know, please, what you guys think. It doesn't specify in the manual. Hydraulic transfer pump. Lift that up. Now, I don't know the exact operation of this, but it's all about transferring hydraulic pressure from the main kind of 2 systems. Remember, there's the flight system, and then there's the landing gear and that system there. And it's about equalizing pressure between those 2 systems. It's in normal, but you can go to... what can you go to? You can go to shut off the pump, which equalizes the pressure between 2 systems. But I've never used it. Probably never will do. We'll have to see. Maybe it is something we should learn to use. This here is a compass panel that allows us to configure navigation for the use of the AHRS system. So... how do I explain this? So there are 3 modes in which the navigation system can work as such. INS, which is your primary mode. If that fails, you go to IMU, AM. If that fails, you go to AHRS mode. And this is to do with calibrating your AHRS. It's probably something I'll never use, so I don't really intend to learn the buttons. But note that is there, and it is covered fully in the manual. It has a good section on that. Next is the ARA 63. This is the ICLS module that allows for ICLS landings. So we've got a channel selector here where we select the channel that is being broadcast from the aircraft carrier. We've got a built-in test here, and we can turn the system on, off, or on, and it relays information to us from the HUD and the VDI depending on those selector switches we saw back there. Lights panel, a whole bunch of lights in here. We've got our ACM panel brightness, and they are red lights, our AOA indexer lights, our instrument lights, our console lights, our external formation lights, our anti-collision lights on or off, whether we want our position, our wing position, our position lights flashing or steady, and the wing position lights bright or dim or off, and tail bright or dim or off. Whether we want a floodlight in the cockpit, white bright or dim, red bright or dim or medium. Our taxi lights on or off, or taxi light. And our hook bypass, this is the one I always get wrong. Okay, I've just read the manual quickly. It says that if we're on the carrier mode, then the AOA indexer lights will flash if the hook isn't down. A couple of guys out there disagree with that. You guys think it's something different, but I'm just quoting the manual, so you'd have to take it up with them. Right, I'm going to recenter the camera a little bit. There. I don't know why, I've got hardly anything to actually go over here. But okay, so we've got the master tester here. This is where we can test the various systems on the aircraft, and if it's good to go, we get a go here. If it's not good to go, we get a no-go sign here. But just to show that we can do something, let me bring it up with right-click, left-click, go down to lights, left-click again, and it's going to show, it's not the no-go in this case, it's showing all of, oh, sorry, I'll just show you. All of the lights are turned on. Millions and thousands of them, look. Okay, let's go back there. Turn him off before we drain the battery. I don't know about you guys, but I find this really hard to use. Okay. Right, emergency hydraulics. Right. You can have an auto, low, or high. Auto mode uses the low method. Now, it's not the low pressure method as such. It's just called low and high. I was reading the manual about this, and I still don't really understand. But what I can say is the default is low, and if the low pressure system fails, then we can lift this up and go to override the high pressure. Oh, listen to that. Override the high pressure system. Maybe it is PSI. This one is a bit beyond me. They sound like fluid pumps. So it sounds like auto turns the low pressure pump on when it's needed. Low pressure overrides the low pressure pump, and high overrides the high pressure pump. That's got to be what it is. And as you remember, there was an indicator back there to show which one is on at the moment. Yeah, I don't know exactly when to use them though. I just haven't got to that part yet. Right, we've got a non-functional panel here. We've got a non-functional panel here, which is good because I can't read them. We've got the stick there that doesn't work. Have we got anything else around this cockpit? We've got the mirrors we've talked about. Emergency jettison. We've got the armament for the seat ejection panel there. Ejection seat. You know what, guys? I think that is it. Circuit breakers here, but we can't press them. And I hope they aren't ever implemented. And I think that is us done. Right, so there was a couple I missed out there, but I got 99.5%, I think, and I hope I've got all the ones right that I've learned. It was a good couple of weeks since I've been through, or a week since I've been through the manual last, but I think I've got that. Right, I hope that helps. And as wow, no, nearly. The HSD here, in certain modes, like the manual mode, then we can set a course line and set a heading line and change the brightness, although that doesn't seem to work. I've never understood. Oh, yes, it does. Why? And we've got a built-in test node out here. Oh, yeah, HSD test. And oh, look, under that, I've never seen that before. Cabin pressure. So we have a cabin pressure gauge there, and I can't read it because the needle's in the way. Ooh. Auxiliary, these are gonna be brakes, no. Okay, I'm back, I've read the manual. This is interesting actually. This is the cabin pressure in thousands of feet barometric. So if it was there, we'll be at 30,000 feet barometric. Do you know what I mean? Here is the pressure, the hydraulic pressure indicators for the parking brake. And it says if it's in the red, then it's basically used up, worn out. So we can't use the parking brake anymore. And it only has 3 charges before it runs out of hydraulic pressure. Now let's get logical here. Does that mean to get the pressure back, we need to put the this guy to connect the two systems together and then turn the pump on? Is that going to get our hydraulics back? That's interesting. What do you guys think there? Because we've lost pressure. That's below 2,000 psi when it's in the red, I believe. Because I've been playing about with the brake, I imagine. And this auxiliary one, it's called auxiliary, but it actually means the toe brakes, just the normal, normal brakes, wheel brakes. Again, it's in the red, so unless the gauge isn't working, I don't know, but it shouldn't be working. We get about 15 pushes of the toe brake before it runs out of hydraulic pressure. Again, do we have to put the pump in to charge the pressure? Do we have to refuel the plane or something? How do we get the hydraulic pressure back? Interesting. Turn that off. Right, have they hidden any more cheeky buggers in here? That must be the actual ejection handle there, look. I always want to know what that is. Oh, I know, there's one. No, we've done it. There's a little light there, I think. That, I think, y'all, is one comprehensive video. Right. That was good fun exploring that. I hope that helps and see you later.